Okay, well, I would like to welcome you to the first video interview through the ACRL Library Marketing and Outreach Interest Group's new YouTube channel. My name is Virginia. I'm the co-founder of this interest group and also current convener. And today we will be speaking with Ben Bizzle. Ben is the Director of Technology at the Craighead County Jonesboro Public Library. He is a 2013 Library Journal mover and shaker, the author of recently published title Start a Revolution, Stop Acting Like a Library, and a driving force behind the website librarymarket.com. I've asked Ben here today to speak with our group about his projects, both his book and his website, his insights and his inspirations. Ben, thank you for being here with us today.
Virginia, thank you very much for having me. I look forward to talking to you folks today. It's a real pleasure to be here.
Great. We have a couple of questions. The first one is, how did you become interested in marketing?
Marketing's always kind of fascinated me, not so much from the actual aspect of creating marketing material, so much as it is from the impact that marketing has on people. It's reflective of how people think, and all the way back to my psychology courses in college and stuff like that. I've always had a fascination with what sorts of things elicited, what sorts of responses from people, and ways to engage people, touch them emotionally. One of the catchphrases I use when I talk a lot is that the way to effectively reach people is either to make them laugh or pull at their heartstrings. You have to have an emotional connection, and so my fascination with marketing comes from the emotional connections and the resulting reactions you get from people when you do quality marketing work.
Very good. Very good. Go ahead. One thing that I wanted to say about you talking about emotions is I always felt like marketing a library is like marketing a heart of gold. To me, I'm not really selling services. I'm selling something that's beautiful. To me, telling a student, come here, use these resources, it will help you graduate. That's what I tell myself. I aid people to graduate. So appealing to a person through their emotions is really kind of at the heart of marketing.
It is. I think that you have to know your demographic, and you have to know how to engage your demographic. And you may have subsets of demographics. Even in an academic environment, there may be the approach to seniors may be different than the approach to freshmen, just as an example. I just, or librarymarket.com, we just finished with the New Orleans Public Library's campaign for a millage increase. New Orleans was faced with a financial crisis where they were going to run out of the reserve funding that they had available by mid-2016. And the city council had approved a vote for a millage increase that would provide them long-term sustainable funding. And they approached Library Market about doing the social media campaign for the campaign, the Vote Yes campaign. And so when we took that on, we looked at when you think about touching people emotionally, what people are going to react to. Well, New Orleans is a big and diverse city, and to reach everyone within that city with the exact same message was not the most effective approach of communicating with them and getting out the vote. Not in absolutes, but in broad strokes, we decided that we would break the city down based on zip code, and then based on property values. Okay, so we had a different message for poorer communities than we did for, say, more middle-class communities, and then a different message still for the wealthier communities, because we wanted to address with the poor community. We felt like the most effective way to address the role that the library played in their life and the crucial nature of voting yes by appealing to what the library did for them directly. Okay, unique services that were available to them that they may not have the financial means to access from home. Then the wealthy people that we marketed to, we took an approach that because they have the means by which to just pay for these things if they want to, we appealed to them in a more advocacy with a more advocacy approach. How the library impacts your community, associations between literacy rates and imprisonment and crime, and those sorts of things that, while you may not be an active user of the library yourself, it's still important to you as a citizen of the community to support the library and the existence of the library. So, as an example, you have to look at what your demographic is and how you can reach them from either an intellectual or emotional level, what's going to be most effective. So if you were trying to approach, you just think about your audience is what it is. Your audience is not any different than those audiences. It's just a matter of what's the most effective means by which to reach the people.
Would be, students, faculty, staff, community users, and then even people who are on our board of directors. Those are, are different higher ups, that kind of thing. Those would be our different audiences that, in that case, to have them buy in on how important the library is, to reach them differently through different emotional ways. So that's a really good point. Our second question that we had come in says, could you give us a brief overview on what librarymarket.com does for the average outreach professional? Specifically, earlier we talked about, I was a member of the Dropbox community that you had that reached, epic proportions, and how that has changed now that it is librarymarket.com.
Sure. First off, I want to point out that librarymarket.com is a company that I founded. I have four partners now, actually. I'm privileged to be able to say that Jessamine West is going to be working with Library Market and bringing years and years of library experience and passion and insight. And we're really excited about having her on board with us now, doing usability evaluations and user experience work for us. So it is a company, and obviously I don't want to do this interview necessarily to straight promote my company or anything like that. But we do also have some valuable tools that we want to make available to the library at no cost. The first of which is, as you mentioned, the library Dropbox. A little bit of history on the Dropbox. Basically, the reason it's called I think the technical name for it, or the long name for it, was the Library Facebook Images Dropbox folder.
Yeah. Wow.
This is Library Land, so we can make an acronym for that if we want to.
Yeah.
But at any rate, I had kind of developed a posting strategy for Facebook a couple of years ago, where the strategy basically consisted of posting something that was library relevant in the mornings, things that were going to be going on at the library that day, and then posting some sort of funny images and stuff like that in the evening. The idea being that when people get to work in the morning and that sort of a thing, they kind of take that little social media break before they get started, and so maybe they check their Facebook and stuff. So we wanted to catch them with useful information at that point of things they might be interested in that were going on at the library. In the evenings, people kind of sit down and they kind of shut their brain off and relax in front of their computer and just kind of surfing and stuff. And so the interaction with social media is far more relaxed in the evening, and I wanted to appeal to that relaxed nature. So I was posting up funny pictures and little memes and stuff that were library specific. Friend of mine named Jeannie Allen, she was basically using pretty much the same strategy, and she and I kind of had this competition going on. Every day we would see which one of us could get the most shares and likes and comments on our evening posts. And one night she just happened to mention, we spend a lot of time looking around the internet for these pertinent images that we could use, and it'd be nice as we run across them if we shared a Dropbox folder with one another, and we could just kind of stick them up there, and then both of us could grab the ones that we wanted when we wanted to use them. And I was a member, she was too, of ALA Think Tank on Facebook. It's Facebook.com/ALA Think Tank. No affiliation with ALA, but it's got over 12,000, almost 13,000 members in it now, and it's a wonderful resource. At any rate, I told her, we ought to share this with other libraries as well. They, could find this valuable, and other people could upload images that they ran across as well. And so when I posted it up, I really had no idea that it would become this behemoth that it did. But it's got over 800 people that share this folder now. If you look at the actual image count, it says there are like 3,500 images in there, but it's actually not. It's only about 1,000 images or so. The problem is that because of the level of access everyone has and lack of experience sometimes with Dropbox, there's lots of duplications, and people accidentally upload their resumes in there or store their PowerPoint presentations, or any myriad of things has wound up getting stuck in that Dropbox. It's just 800 people cannot share a single folder and maintain any kind of level of curation with it or anything like that. Dropbox was never designed to be the platform for this kind of collaboration. So when I founded Library Market, one of my objectives was to take what had become a really great resource and bring it into a platform that worked much better for the user. So I created the Dropbox as on Library Market. So if people went to librarymarket.com/Dropbox, they can now register there, and it's the platform it should have been built on. It should have always been a web-based platform where people could easily access the images. People can still upload their images. However, now it goes over into a repository, and then we can clean the images up and name them and tag them and categorize them. So everyone still has the same level of access and same level of opportunity to participate. We just transitioned it into a better environment where we could keep it curated better, and it wasn't messy like it was before. So, yeah, that's the reason, that's how it came into being, and that's the reason we moved it over to my company's website, was that we needed people to have a better platform. If we were going to continue to use it, it had to be something that was a better experience for people. So we moved it over there.
Yeah. I hope that there will be maybe an academic folder for different memes and different images for academics as well. I know that a lot of people would like to use that. I've seen a lot of different memes for academics in the Dropbox, different finals, cats and stuff like that. So that would be great to have a folder for academics.
Well,
if there isn't one already.
Yeah, I don't think there's a specific folder for academics, because we basically categorize based on subject matter. But one of the things that we are working on, because everything's an evolution, and we're continuing to grow it and flesh it out, build it, but we are tagging all of the images. So we're going to add search functionality so that you can actually search for, if you want, cat pictures or whatever. So
well, that's what I want. I want cat pictures.
We did have an individual, Joe Box, who was assigned with taking all of the images out of Dropbox and moving them all over. So he's had the privilege of categorizing about 1,000 images and adding tags to all of them and so forth. So I'll let him know that if he didn't tag academic in some of those that are specifically academic by nature, that he'll need to go back through and do all that again. I'm sure he'll be.
He'll love that. Yeah, I know he'll love that.
Yeah, but the searchability should hopefully, like I say, we just we wanted to make sure that we had a better platform for people.
Well, I think it's going to be great. I just signed up for it, so I'm excited to go in and take a look to see what's going on. All right, well, our third question is, could you fill us in on your new title, Start a Revolution, Stop Acting Like a Library? I know that it was published in January, and I would like to see, hopefully my library will buy it for us, and I want to hear a little bit more about what it entails.
Sure. I usually, when I start talking about my book, I start with the caveats and or the disclaimers. And first off, I am not a writer. I've never professed to be a writer. I was approached a couple of years ago after I did my first national presentation at Internet Librarian by a lady who was working with a publishing company, and she said, "Really enjoyed your talk. Have you ever considered writing a book?" And I said, no, I hadn't. But anyway, but I went ahead and had some conversations and so forth, and then some other folks showed interest, and ultimately I wound up signing an agreement with ALA Publishing or ALA Editions to be published through them. The book is it's pretty simplistic, and it kind of grew out of my experience at our library. It basically tells the story of the things that we've done at our library from a marketing and technology perspective, or at least the web development component of technology. And I've had the opportunity to travel around the country and speak to lots of people and stuff, but and I do enjoy doing that. But I wound up deciding, if you really want to affect change in the industry, if you put it in writing, it puts something in people's hands that they can use as a resource. It wasn't that they just went and heard you talk and enjoyed the talk and got motivated to go back and try some things without some sort of a guide. So I really wrote it at a very basic level, because I think a lot of libraries, there are libraries out there that they could purchase the book and read it and say, this doesn't have any impact on us. We're already doing all those things. But there are so many libraries out there that don't have the first clue where to get started with marketing, or don't have any idea when they go to a web developer and talk about redesigning their website, what they need for themselves in order to convey that to the developer, because the developer doesn't have any library experience. So it was basically to try to provide a framework for people to do, quality web development, web design, to be able to do some of their own marketing. I've got a chapter that touches on some very basics of graphic design, so that people aren't using Comic Sans and clip art on their posters and stuff like that. You got to remember, when you're creating marketing material, you're not just checking a box. You're not saying, okay, we've got this event coming up, we need a poster for it, and then you spend 3 hours doing something and it's got the words on there and some clip art and say, okay, here's the poster. The poster's not a check mark. You have to put thought into what words are we using, what images are we using, how is it going to impact people emotionally and stuff. So these are important things. You're not just trying to get something done, you're trying to see a result from your efforts. And the book was basically written, like I say, in a very simple way, to try to help those libraries that really just don't know how to get out of the gate sometimes. It's a guidepost. And, when I talk about how to talk to your decision makers, because a lot of people have got great ideas in libraries about things that need to be done, but then unfortunately maybe you've got old guard sort of decision makers that are still holding on to tradition versus accepting the world for what it is now, and taking those almost blind faith leaps sometimes into the future. So it's basically just kind of, if anything else, I'd call it kind of a guidebook. It's not something that on any given topic that I talk about in the book, there are a myriad of books available that go into far greater detail and explanation and stuff. But that wasn't my objective. My objective was to provide people with, a very broad look at social media, web development, marketing, working with your decision makers, transitioning people to more of an ROI mindset, so that they think about what they offer in terms of return on investment. How many people use resources versus how much you pay for them. How much better of a result you can get for a program if you market it versus not marketing it. An example commonly used is that you've got a program that costs $500 to put on, and you have 100 people show up. Then you spent $5 per participant. However, if you have a $500 program and you spend $50 on, say, a Facebook ad, and you wind up with 200 people that show up, well, you've doubled the value of that program with only spending 10% more money. So it's those sorts of concepts that a lot of times people have challenges explaining to the higher ups, the decision makers and stuff. So it's not a book about web development, but there's a chapter dedicated to how to kind of guide your web developer in getting the results that you need that are going to be an effective way to reach your customer base or your patrons. And then social media, I have a very strict strategy on social media that I don't like wasting time on things just because they're kind of hip or cool for the moment or anything like that. And, I like to make investments in long-term strategies. So my talking about social media involves primarily Facebook, because Facebook has basically established itself as a strong communication platform that's at least here to stay for a while. Everything in the world changes, but Facebook is home from a social media perspective for a lot of people. And so basically that's I did the very best I could to take the experience that we'd had and the things that I'd learned from those experiences and give other people an opportunity to try those sorts of things out for themselves and hopefully have similar experiences at their library.
This book would be helpful for academic libraries still, even though it's coming from a public library perspective. The reason why I say that is because we do have, or most of the time, universities have university communications, and they do handle a good bit of the branding, the advertising, all these different things. But you just spoke to about having to convince higher-ups, and usually in the library we have to do that for different events, just like you said. For any kind of advertising that you want being done, you have to talk to another person. I also like the idea of learning more about the social media strategy that you were talking about. For my university, like, everybody's on Twitter and none of the students are on Facebook. So, and that shifts and changes. We just started a Tumblr account. Like, I just feel like I constantly have to try different things, and I like your perspective of having that home base, and the home base being Facebook. So it sounds pretty interesting to me. I really want to get it for our library. Yeah. So.
Well, I mean, you have to look at different platforms in different ways, though. I mean, when you say that a lot of your students are on Twitter and nobody uses Facebook, statistically, that's not correct based on research that's available. Across the board, more people use Facebook in any demographic than use Twitter. People will use Twitter more frequently than they use Facebook. In college environment, let's say somebody's got a Facebook account, and every once a week or so they'll post something on Facebook. But whereas Twitter, being more of a conversation tool, they may tweet 20 times a day or 50 times a day or something like that. Right. But they're tweeting back and forth in a very close-knit group, often of their friends, where they're responding back and forth to one another and stuff like that. The problem, just from a marketing perspective, I have nothing in the world against Twitter as a thing itself. I have a Twitter account and use Twitter. But the problem with Twitter is the delivery. Okay, if you're a library, first you have to build an audience. People who are following the library have an interest in the library. So you have to give them a reason to do that on Twitter, which is a relatively challenging thing to do. Fortunately, on Facebook, it's easier to grow an audience because they just got to like your page, and you can run ads if you want to grow that audience and stuff. Twitter or other platforms are a little more challenging. The second challenge you have with Twitter is unless you're kind of piggybacking on a popular hashtag that's being used within your demographic, when you post to Twitter, you're only going to be able to catch the people who happen to see that post as it was posted.
Right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. With Facebook, there's an algorithm that you can kind of manipulate. That's what the Dropbox was for. The more people who like or share or comment on your posts, help you to develop what's called a social graph. So when this person likes it, then it kind of gives your post more value. So it's going to wind up showing up to more people on Facebook because, oh, people are liking this. Well, let's show it to some other people who already like the page. Maybe they would like it too, since it's getting interaction. So there's an algorithm that you have an opportunity to take advantage of. So you're in control of people having an opportunity to see your posts, because if you're posting quality content that people are interested in, that you're engaging with, which is what marketing is, then you're able to reach more people. Right. Aside from that, you also have the true value of Facebook, and that's the capacity to advertise. When you actually buy ads on Facebook, you select the demographics that you're wanting to reach. It doesn't matter whether they're fans of the library or not. You're going to reach everyone that is within the demographic range that you set up for any ad that you run. So if that person is only logging on to Facebook or posting something on Facebook once a week and checking it maybe 2 or 3 times a week or once a day or something like that, if you bought an ad on Facebook, it's going to show up for that person regardless of when it is that they actually engage the platform. You see what I'm saying? So it's almost like when you're trying to post through Twitter, you're going to catch the people who happen to be looking at their Twitter feed at 2 o'clock in the afternoon when you made that post or whatever. Whereas with Facebook, you've got far more control over your marketing strategy and marketing approach, because it's just, it's been built. I mean, Facebook's been built as a marketing or an advertising platform. That's what it is. That's the reason it went public. I tell people quite honestly and frankly that you as a Facebook user are not Facebook's customer. You as a Facebook user are Facebook's product.
Right. Mm-hmm. There's no such thing as a free app, right? You're the product.
Well, you are the product. As a Facebook user, you're the product, and advertisers are buying the right to reach you as the product. You are the end product for advertisers. And so Facebook is an advertising platform. Twitter is a conversation platform. And a news platform.
I definitely see Twitter as a one-on-one connection. I'm able to talk with our students, like if they tweet to the library about it being too loud, or someone's doing something in the library late at night, they tweet to us and we can talk one-on-one about it. I see it as almost like Ask a Librarian on Twitter. So on Facebook, I see it like our home base. I've never looked at Facebook just like you explained it. That's really interesting. Facebook has grown on me more. I had a slump with it, didn't like it very much, and then now we have the group through ACRL Library Marketing and Outreach, and it's gotten better for me. So I guess maybe I need to revisit Facebook for my library just to try to invest in it a little bit more. I don't know, maybe our group will be able to comment on it if any university or community college, technical college, any of these academic research college libraries have actually done the advertising for their library. I'd be interested to see if anybody had done anything like that.
I would point out that in any of the platforms, and I catch a lot of flack for this because there are some people out there that have their heart and soul on Twitter, and I've been quite honestly, or sincerely told to my face, if you don't think Twitter is an effective tool for marketing, then you don't know about marketing.
Oh,
and I respect that opinion, but just because you're emotionally connected to Twitter does not validate it as a logical argument. So
not everybody's there.
You have to look at how you're able to reach people. Posting on Facebook is not an effective strategy for using the platform for marketing. Buying advertisements is the effective way to use the platform for marketing. The posting, yes, you can reach more people than you would on Twitter if you've got an equal set of people using both platforms.
Right.
If what you say is true about, the activity on Twitter, then posting is, if you post, if folks only check Facebook once a day and you happen to post something at a time that they're not there and you don't get enough likes and shares for it to propagate out to those people, then you didn't get them either. So you have to, I think maybe part of what I do is just kind of tear away the mystery of these different platforms, and I look at things not from, I'm completely dispassionate about it. I don't care which platform is better. I'm looking out for the library, and it's kind of like I don't have a dog in the fight. I just kind of assess them on raw numbers and which one of them is going to be more effective in the way that we're going to try to reach people. And in this particular case, when it comes to social media, the most effective way to reach people, whether handheld devices or on their computers, is by running Facebook ads. You're just going to reach more people that way. It's math.
Numbers, yeah. Okay.
It's just math. I mean,
I think, maybe we should start a conversation in our group about if maybe those academic libraries would ever consider doing something like that, or who have. If we could target our student population and faculty population, it's a good way to start a conversation. So we will definitely do that. Okay, so we kind of already touched on the next question, because I was going to say, would you say this title would be beneficial for the academic library marketer? But we kind of already talked about that. So I'll move on to number 5 out of the
Well, if I may, before you do that, because I get this a lot as well when I speak, I have academic librarians come up and say, I really enjoyed what you had to say, but how would I, apply that in my library? And from the perspective of anything that I, talk about when I give presentations or from the book itself, what I'm talking about is principles. It's not, I do talk about it in specificity with regard to public libraries, because that's where I got my experience. But the principles that I'm talking about are universal marketing principles or universal web development principles. You might have more success using a different types of imagery or different verbiage or something like that. The strategy with which the tools that you use to reach people at an emotional level in a college environment may be different, or the approach that you use may be different than a public library, but the principles are the same regardless, because they're just broad principles. So yes, I think that it is effective for academic libraries, if they'll keep in mind that if they don't close themselves off to the idea that it is, that they are principles that can extend to an academic library, and just, rather than just read it for what's on the page, read it and think about it in the process, then they can see how it extends to an academic environment.
It into your own environment, make it work for you. I agree.
Exactly.
Okay, so what is your favorite tool to use to make marketing graphics? I know that you've been talking about how you don't maybe do you do any graphic design? And the reason why I'm asking this is because in our group, we've been really wild about Canva.com. I don't know if you know this software. So Canva is pretty great. They're changing it. They're making a Canva for work. We're a little afraid that they're going to make you pay for it, but so you can make these really amazing images instead of using maybe Microsoft Publisher or the software that you had to pay a lot of money for. So I was interested to see if you had maybe a favorite tool online that you could share with us. Yeah.
Well, I'm not a graphic designer. We do have a graphic designer.
And I would say that I'm not either.
We have a graphic designer at our library. We are fortunate enough to have a graphic designer at a library. Library Market, we actually have 2 graphic designers there, of which I'm still not one of them. It's just, that's not my area of expertise. It's not where I didn't learn those things. Now I do talk about it in the book, but I got that information from graphic designers to write about. As far as tools, and I do some graphic design work for myself or whatever, but there's no way that I would ever do graphic design work that I would consider professional work unless I went and got more education in it. Right. When I talk about doing graphic design, first off, when I talk about learning how to do graphic design, it's Google searching. It's investing your time into learning a few tools and tricks and stuff like that. It's watching YouTube videos on how to use software to get rid of a background because you only want the front image and you're going to, put it over on a layer somewhere else and stuff like that. Software itself, for those libraries or individuals who absolutely just cannot spend a penny, I suggest GIMP, which is a free graphic design or image manipulation software that's available for download. I recommend GIMP as a free tool because there are still a lot of YouTube tutorials and stuff on how to use GIMP. But personally, and then basically the designers that I know and work with all use either Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, those sorts of tools. I personally use Photoshop for most everything that I am doing. Most of the designers that I know use Illustrator. So those are professional tools. But again, there are so many resources and tutorials available that if you are taking on this challenge for yourself, for your library, sometimes it's better maybe to go with something that costs a little money on the front end, but you can kind of learn how to use versus getting something for free that there's just not any resources for. So, not only that, you work in an academic environment, and these products also have academic pricing available, which is generally considerably less than what it sells at retail or whatever. So anyway, that's kind of my recommendation is GIMP or Photoshop for folks that are going to do it on their own. In an academic environment, and I don't know whether it's a possibility or not, it actually occurred to me right before we came on in thinking about that translation between public and academic. Before we got the approval from our board to hire a graphic designer at our library, we actually spent a number of years using interns at our local university, at the Arkansas State University. People in the graphic design program, they have to do internships as part of their responsibility to graduate. So we had interns at our library. Being on campus at a college, if it's a viable option, you might develop a relationship with your graphic designer or your art department to see if maybe they couldn't work there. Some of those folks couldn't work their internships through the library, and then you have got and to develop that relationship, and then you've got basically professional or going to be professional graphic design work for the library at no cost because these people are fulfilling their internship obligation. So at least maybe for some academic environments, that's something worth pursuing. Looking for opportunities to collaborate with people who we're in environments where it's mutually beneficial.
Right, definitely. That's a really good point. We brought that up too in our Facebook group, just trying to ask people to help out at the library, maybe that they could even, get some credit, different for their courses, maybe put up artwork in the library, that kind of stuff. Okay, well, great. GIMP, I have that. I just loaded it onto my computer again today. So for our last question, it's kind of open-ended. It says, do you have any advice for the academic library marketer? And we were just wondering if you had some tips or any kind of ending advice for the academic marketer.
I think that if there were any specific advice I would give, the first thing that I would say is separate yourself from your library and try to think about things from the outside in rather than the inside out. You'll be a far more effective marketer if you can get into the mind of the people that you're trying to reach. I've kind of got a saying that we want to develop an environment that pulls people in rather than pushes library out. And I think that kind of keeps our mindset on the individuals out there. I mean, the reality is that in a library, you've got some pretty specific sort of mindsets of the people that work there. I mean, it's just like people that work for any organization, particularly for an extended period of time. You kind of become immersed in your environment. You think about the library every day. And by extension, there's a part of you that kind of thinks that everybody else does too. And the reality is, no, they don't. They're not thinking about the library. They don't think about the library in the terms that you think about the library. They don't think about it with the passion with which you think about the library. They're not connected the way that you are. So if you can kind of disconnect yourself from that love of library that you have and think about it from the terms of people that maybe aren't paying as much attention and, okay, what kind of things are they paying attention to and how can I hook them with those sorts of things, or relate to them on their level so that they can see that their library is of value to them, or that there's something interesting going on at the library. So the very first thing is stop thinking library and think more patron. I'd also say that it's a lot of work. You have to be passionately commit. You can't. This is the kind of work that you don't just go and punch the clock and put in 8 hours and punch the clock and go home and call it a day. If you can't be passionate about working in a library, you need to go find something else to do. It is, we work in the passion business, and I feel like those passionate people that become really successful at doing things in their library, and these libraries that you hear about that are really successful, it comes from a commitment those people have to their craft. I can't tell you the number of hours that I've left the library and come home and spend entire evenings working on a little project because I was passionate about it that was library specific, or watching those YouTube tutorials so that, okay, when I go in tomorrow and I work on this piece of the video that I'm editing, I need to know how to do this. So hours of dedicated work because I was passionate about doing the things that I was doing. So it's not a check-in and check-out kind of job. You've got to be committed. And I think, really, honest to goodness, if you can keep yourself separated from your passion and at the same time maintain that level of passion and commitment, it's almost like a dichotomy that I'm suggesting. But in reality, think about the people outside and then commit yourself passionately to the work ethic that's going to be required to get to that level. Nothing's going to be handed to you. You're going to have to do a lot of stuff on your own, figure a lot of things out, and use whatever resources are available for you. But it's passionately doing things from a dispassionate position, if that makes any sense.
I like that perspective. Yeah, that's a pretty interesting perspective. I do like that, and I do really like the idea of taking yourself out of the library and seeing it from a different perspective, seeing it from our students' perspectives, because a lot of times when we do marketing or when we do outreach, we just think about how we feel about it and not how maybe our students feel about it, if they're really interested in it. Yeah, sure, I think that's a really great event, but would any of our students come to it? You have to just make sure that you check that. Okay, well, that's the end of our questioning, and I really want to thank you for being here with me and doing this for the first time ever. I'm really excited about this video. I know that our community is going to learn a lot from everything that we talked about today. So I do really want to thank you for doing that with us. And do you have anything that you would like to say in the end?
No, I'd like to thank you for the invitation. I hope that it works well. I hope that there are some things that people can pick up on. I don't ask that everyone just absolutely agree with everything that I say, but I like to put ideas out there, and you can take what's useful and leave the rest. Hopefully I haven't rambled and carried on or gone down too many rabbit holes, so maybe the information provided is concise enough that people won't grow bored of listening to two country folks talk to one another.
No, I thought about that too. Well, in the remarks for the YouTube channel, I'm going to put librarymarket.com, also a link to your book, and I will also put a link to our Facebook group, just in case someone wanders about, finds this video, and would like to join the Library Marketing and Outreach Facebook group. It's a very dynamic space. I do love being a part of it. So thank you all for watching this video, and thank you to Ben Bizzle for bearing with me and being so patient. And that will be the end of this video. Thank you.